welcome everybody to this podcast for ENRich 2020. Uh, this podcast is about the digital transformation wave that is happening all around us. I am Manas Majumdar, partner in KPMG in Energy and Infrastructure Advisory. I've worked extensively in the energy space in India, in the US and Southeast, and with many key clients on this topic of digital transformation. With me, I have my colleague partner Sushant.
Hi, Manas. Quite excited to be here today and especially for the ENRich Forum. If there is one thing I wait every year, it's for the ENRich platform where you see industry experts coming together and discussing the key areas of focus for energy and natural resources sector. Hi, everyone. My name is Sushant Rabra. I'm a partner with KPMG, where I lead the digital strategy and transformation services. We have extensively worked on energy and natural resources as a sector from a digital lens, and Manas and I have been working together for many clients in the Middle East, India, as well as Southeast Asia on this topic.
Thanks, Sushant. And thank you to all the listeners who have joined in to this podcast. This is, in a sense, a precursor to ENRich 2020, which is on December 2nd and 3rd. And I invite you all warmly to that. The theme for ENRich this year is the net zero future. And today, what Sushant and I are going to talk about and give a little bit of a preview of some of the things we're going to discuss and debate and deliberate in ENRich 2020 is digital in this new normal, right? And can it help us lead to a net zero future, right? And it sounds a lot weighty, but we'll try, discuss some of the things that we've personally seen as we've been working with many of you, our energy clients, on this topic. With that, Sushant, I wanted to get your first thoughts on, what the topic is, digital in the new normal, right? I mean, digital is not a new word. It's been around. You and I have been working in this area for quite some time, but things have changed. I mean, this year, as everybody can tell, is not a normal year. We are going through a pandemic. The energy markets have seen significant volatility. We've seen negative food prices. But what does digital mean in this world, and what really can be done?
Thanks, Manas, for bringing that up. So digital, of course, is a theme which has been in traction for last many years. But what has COVID done to it? It has taken away the option of sitting on the fence. So either you are on the digital transformation wave or you are off it. There is no middle ground anymore. And we have seen that for our clients as well. For many of our clients, we have seen an acceleration in digital adoption and transformation. If there is one area where companies are investing today, it is in themes of digital, and that could be in digital supply chain, visibility, work from home, and so on. Now, that's more on the adoption side. But if you see what has happened the last almost 2 to 3 years from a technology side as well, is that many of the technologies have matured. So for example, from artificial intelligence, IoT, Industry 4.0, drones, cyber, they have become mainstream and their use cases are now proven for the ENR sector. And therefore, there is an increased adoption and trust in the value that digital delivers to ENR sector. This is all happening in a context of unprecedented volatility in the energy markets. We are seeing the rise of renewable, the energy transition, of course, as well as the change in dynamics. So from a seller's market a few years ago, it's becoming a buyer's market, maybe in a few years from now. And that all is changing the key metrics and areas of focus that organizations have. For example, cost leadership, operational efficiency has become a very key lever that organizations want to tap into today as they move into this new world. And consequently, the focus on digital to enable those has also increased over time. In fact, from a frontier of digitization perspective, Manas, I would say I've seen our clients invest a lot in themes which are pertinent to, for example, continuity of business. Right? So how can digital help you run, automate, and ensure continuity even in the new normal? Second theme, which has become very important, is the entire theme around visibility. Because you have so many moving parts, especially after COVID. There is concern around how the traditional models don't work anymore because things are changing every day. So therefore, digital can provide our clients that on-ground visibility, which is essential to make better decisions. And finally, on the operational efficiency, as I spoke about earlier. So I would say while digital wave has been with us for a few years, these are the characteristics that we have seen in the last almost 1.5 years, which have become more important than others. Now,
Right.
I can speak probably, Manas, from a technology sense, and I can go on for a long time. But I think end of the day, the touchstone of all technology is about business value. I'm sure you get asked that question a lot. Why should we undertake digital transformation? How do you respond to that?
Right. No, you're absolutely right, Sushant. I mean, it's sometimes the clients are saying, digital, it's a new buzzword, let's get on it, right? But sometimes there are, of course, skeptics, and it's very useful to kind of look at things in a very dispassionate lens, right? And to that, I think my usual answer, Sushant, that I highlighted is business value that you can actually derive out of digital, right? And in the current context, it is not really a choice, as you rightly said, right? So it's digital is thrust upon us. So if you look at the here and now, it is helping us do actual business. The fact that we are doing this podcast from connectivity from respective locations, rather than kind of doing together like we would do in a typical podcast, is a fact of how digital has really accelerated, like you said, right? The number of Teams meetings we've had or Zoom meetings that we've had, right? So it's increased. For many of our clients, it's simple things about managing the workforce, right? Having a rota of who will come today and who will not, so that you're managing, not have more than 30% or 50% of their workforce in office as required, as we are coming back from lockdown. Then it is also about workspace management. How do you ensure that there is appropriate spacing, right? I mean, KPMG itself, I think our IT team has done wonders in terms of, the Safe at Work app, many other things that have happened, and many of our clients have done the same, like, whether you call it the Reliance or so on, so forth, the what, who have really ensured, and even PSUs, where they've ensured online connectivity for their larger employees. They've ensured security that as people get login, can work on various documents, and that whole seamless process of what used to operate as an office, as a business, is now being done in a decentralized, distributed manner. So I think digital is upon us. So I think there is clear value that clients are seeing. And then honestly, I see the long-term value that really digital can bring, right? And this is the core part I always tell our clients to focus on. And this is where our mantra, Sushant, that you're aware, comes in, right? Which is, digital should make money, save money, or enhance experience, right? So it's about enhancing the customer experience, helping you save money, be more efficient, or be able to provide new offerings and business models, and make money and new business streams, right? So there is clearly this value lens that is very important to take it forward for many of our clients. And that's a key reason. And if, in fact, if I were to say beyond the here and now and the long term reason, there is a reason to do it now, because if you don't do it, either for the current reasons or the future reasons, somebody will come and disrupt it, and parts of the business will be kind of taken away or carved out, right? So you have truly to disrupt yourself or be disrupted, right? So I think that really, in my mind, succinctly says why you need to do a digital transformation from the significant value that you can derive out of this, right? Now, if I were to look at, I mean, of course, this is all makes good business sense. I truly believe that. But if we look at it digital from a society and a community at large perspective, and of course to the theme that we are of ENRich, how do you think digital can help us craft a future which is sustainable, and can help us achieve our ESG goals as well?
Absolutely. And I think if there is one thing which COVID has taught over the last few months to all of us, is the impact of humanity on this planet, and what can we do to ensure sustainability of our future generations. And from that perspective, we see there is a fair degree of thought now going into the sustainability side of things and the ESG goals. And what I would like to bring forward is the key role digital can play in helping ensure that we align to those ESG goals. I can give you an example of a client that we were working with in the minings and metal space, where they leverage digital transformation to identify the energy usage across the entire value chain. And they were able to shave off fair degree of energy usage in each of these steps to the extent that the eventual value on the table from, of course, the monetary terms, save money, going back to what you said, Manas, was a few $1,000,000. But more importantly, the carbon footprint that got reduced because of that was the icing on the cake. And that can only happen if you have the granular visibility on information. You can take actions basis what is happening on ground and consequently align yourself to the right practices. Another one, which is again into mining space, they picked up affluence and how are they managing the affluence in alignment with their stated sustainability policies and guidelines. There's another client that we are working with, this is in the oil and gas sector, and they were looking at the footprint, they were looking at targeted afforestation, where technologies, for example, analytics and GIS work together areas for intervention and therefore bring out the value from the afforestation programs. So for all of these themes, what we have seen is that you would need a very strong digital layer underneath to run all of these programs and make sure that you are getting the value from the initiatives that you're taking. There are tons of other examples worldwide, both in the developed world as well as in the developing world, where organizations are leveraging the power of digital, the power of connectivity, the power of analysis on site to take decisions. And therefore, what I would like to highlight here is that if you're looking at your sustainability goals and sustainability programs, please do look out for a wave of digital intervention supporting all of that. If you do that, I'm very sure that we will be able to achieve our goals in a time-bound manner and staying true to the course that we have set out for ourselves.
Right. No, that's very interesting, Sushant. And honestly, you're absolutely right that the digital can have significant impact not only in you gave examples of how you can target deforestation and afforestation. That's like a direct impact on environmental and sustainability. But it could be also on indirectly where you're looking at efficiencies and saying how our losses can be minimized, because all of that goes towards reducing the carbon footprint, right? So that's very important. And as you rightly said, technology is a key to this future. Now, if you're talking about future technology, I mean, as you were saying, technology underpins this, right? So what are some of those cutting edge areas in technology that are coming up that we should be aware of? Because knowing some of that really helps think through some of these value initiatives.
Absolutely. I would say if you're a technology leader, there's no better time to be than it is today. We are seeing evolution of technologies at an unprecedented pace, right? So we in fact published something called a technology radar, where we track almost 50 key technologies which are at various stages of maturity. So you have the technologies which are more mainstream and there are existing use cases. There are some technologies which are being explored, and there are of course some technologies which are out there on the horizon. Now, if you look at that radar, what you would see are two things. One, if you looked at the radar maybe 5 years before and to today, if earlier it used to take, let's say, 3 to 5 years for a technology to move from being on the horizon to being on the exploration stage to being mainstream, that time has shrunk by half. So technologies are coming at you with double the speed, right? The second thing that you would see is that all these technologies are amplifying each other. So the innovation that you do, for example, on AI space will go and help you, for example, from biotechnology space. And that will probably go and help you from human-computer interface perspective. So all these technologies are interplaying with each other in a very, very dynamic way. And therefore, the innovation is being carried out pretty much every day. There are various, if I was to say, swim lanes or channels within that entire technology radar. So there are technologies aligned to the artificial intelligence space, right? And there's a fair degree of work which is happening over there. The second theme is around the connectedness. So connected vehicles, connected assets, connected oil fields. connected everything. So this entire space and Industry 4.0 is getting a lot of traction as well. The third theme I would say is around the biology side. So for example, CRISPR innovation that we have seen, right? Biomimicry innovations that we are witnessing, and so on and so forth. So there is fair degree of work is happening on that side as well. And I'm quite confident that some of the innovations there would actually solve literally the world hunger possibly in a few years, uh, and so on. Then there are some other set of technologies around, for example, quantum computing, 3D printing, and so on and so forth, which are amplifying each other. So for example, from a quantum computing space, in the last just 2 years, we have seen so much of traction, wherein we had the first proven models run by a few large organizations which declared quantum supremacy. And from there to today, just in a matter of few months, there's a fair degree of work which has happened on actually started using quantum computing for some specialized use cases. So what I want to sort of leave behind for the audience here is these three things: that A, things are moving very fast. So there's a larger number of technologies coming your way. Second, all these are amplifying each other as you go. And three, the use cases and the proven outcomes are pretty much now being developed on a daily basis. So what it means is that the era of possibly a 5-year plan from a technology or digital side possibly might not be as relevant. You might have to actually shorten the planning horizon and do wave-based planning and constantly scan the horizon to see which digital technologies actually make sense for your organization. We, as KPMG, we work with large number of alliance partners. I mean, these could be large technology transformation players to startups who are doing fairly cutting edge work, for example, on underwater drones, just be making it very specific, right? It's a fairly vibrant community out there which is constantly innovating, and we are working with all of them and our clients.
So that is quite impressive, and something to really look forward to, Sushant. Yes.
Well, I think when you talk about technology, that siliconware is fairly easy to work with, right? But Manas, I want to take your thoughts basis your experience. How do you make digital transformation work, and how do you make digital transformation stick in organizations?
No, it's a very relevant question, Sushant, and you very rightly said it. So we talked about technology and businesses, but what does it? It is about people like you and me, right? And whenever we're talking about digital transformation, it affects the organization, and it therefore needs to impact all the levels across the organization. And one of the key things that we've seen, that for a digital transformation to be really successful is not just the use cases or not just the technology, but to start with from the top, getting that senior leadership buying guidance. If the CEO and the MD, they truly believe in it and the power of digital and the business value that it can give to organization and the people, they drive it not only from the strategy and the ideation part, but also during execution, because there will be momentums up and down in a digital transformation. It's not a point in time, it is a journey, honestly, right? And you need to keep that momentum going, and there will be, yes, ebbs and troughs, but you need to have that a senior leadership and support to that thing to see it through till you get the actual fruits at the end of the journey, right? So I think that's very important. And also beyond that, at various levels, right? So the right amount of communication, the right amount of change management. Why is this happening? Why is this initiative been taken off? What will it mean for me now? What will it mean for me in the future? And how will myself personally as an benefit from it, right? As a whole, right? So people like to kind of understand that longer term vision, but also they like to understand what it means for them, right? And so that communication is one of the key things that really helps in this digital transformation, is setting up a digital transformation office, right? And we've seen it in the likes of our clients like in BP or HPCL. Somebody might call it a data office, somebody might call it a digital center of excellence, but having that organization which embeds all the digital knowledge and then communicates and disseminates that, right? Because it becomes that powerhouse and continues beyond, while we may be the consulting partners at some points in time, but they are able to carry it throughout, and as I said, across the working levels, right? levels, right? So it's very important, both the top leadership and having that digital structure which is then able to emanate and do that. But one question I wanted to talk about, while we talk about these external structures and support, I think there is equal, I think, requirement for embedding some of the digital capabilities within an individual as well, right? And then having that driving it. I mean, how do we kind of look at it from a skills perspective or a capability perspective?
Manas, I would say that subject is actually fairly topical. So far, we have seen digital transformation being seen from a technical lens, saying, are you an AI guru or are you a data analytics guru? Yeah, that's been great, but the way we see that panning out in the future, and we have done a fair degree of work on that with some of the leading oil and gas players and metals and mining players worldwide, is that the future of skills and future of talent is going to be fairly different. And I wanted to talk about three things here. First is that from a future of skill perspective, there would be a triad of skills. So what I mean essentially is that you would have digital skill expertise, for example, AI or big data. You would have a functional expertise. Now think about, let's say, cell engineering, right, or reservoir modeling. And the third would be the professional skills. Now, professional skills are themes around managing innovation, managing ambiguity, complexity, working in culturally diverse distributed teams. And for us to be successful, we will need to have these triads of skills being balanced, and at least at the leadership layer, they being integrated into individuals. So I cannot be an AI guru and believe that I will be successful forever. I cannot be, let's say, a functional guru and expect that I'll be successful forever. I will have to look at future of roles and skills which converge these things together. And maybe after a few years, you would not see these two as distinct teams and distinct people, but maybe as part of one large organization. The second theme I wanted to highlight in terms of skills and talent is about the theme that you will not have all the digital talent within the boundaries of your organization. The full-time employee model is already undergoing change. There is Uberization of talent which is happening. So what is going to happen is you will have a core of the talent which sits within the organization. But apart from that, there would be what I call as loosely coupled ecosystem around you, which could be consultants, which could be advisors, which could be fixed term project consultants, or which could be certain job roles that you have given out to certain organizations on an outcome basis. So there would be these loosely coupled ecosystem players who will be around you, which will help you make your transformation real. The third theme that I wanted to sort of highlight is that when you are evolving this entire talent path, right, you will never be able to have the talent for all technologies at all the requisite level of maturities at the same time, right? Because the way digital technologies are changing, you cannot have a particular cutoff date and believe that all the talent that I need is already here. So what you will need to do is also have a fairly robust technology and talent development programs within the organization to run that. While we have these three things, but most important thing that will need to be there for it to be successful is your digital transformation structure. Now, do you create that as a separate organization? Do you embed that as part of your own business units? Do you take people from business, train them and get them back into digital transformation, or vice versa? These are the questions that you will need to ask yourself. Eventually, digital will have to pretty much be part of the very fabric of your organization. If it is not that, then the outcomes that you're looking for from a digital perspective might not be where they should be. If you run it from a distance, that won't work. So to inculcate digitization and digital in the very DNA of your organization, we will have to look at structuring it well. And there are many models which have worked. So centralized, decentralized, hybrid, integrated, the various models out there which have worked for our clients. And I think we need to spend some time on thinking through what is the right model for you and how will you get them as part of your business organization. So those were the themes that I had, Manas, from my side, from a skill perspective. And now just sort of moving forward from there, I just wanted to sort of take your thoughts. You have done multitude of these projects in the last many years from a digital and transformation perspective. And today we could probably just barely scratch the surface. We have a lot of our clients and listeners on the call today. What would be your set of advice to them as they are embarking on this journey?
Sure. Sushant, you rightly said. I mean, it's kind of we touched upon some of these topics, but it's probably not one thing. It's a holistic aspect there. And if I were to kind of really say, it's a trio, right? Of I would say three things, right? With business value at the top, technology as a support, and the people at the other support, right? I mean, so these three things together is what we embody as the connected enterprise model, right? Where you are able to look at, and when I say people, this is not just the employees, but the customers that you will be able to address, right? You'll be talking about the other dealers and suppliers who form a part of your supply chain itself. So your ability to transform your entire supply chain and your customer experience is a key aspect of digital transformation and what we call the connected enterprise model. Similarly, the technology that you use, not just the here and now, but the technology radar that you talked about. And finally, all of these coming together to the business value that you would derive, right? So it has to make that business sense and impact your business, as we said, from either a business model standpoint or a financial model or an operating model, right? It has to make that tangible impact at the end of it. So I think this just kind of gives a quick summary. But again, from my side, I would suggest that we will debate on these topics in more detail in ENRich. And this was just a preview of some of the things on the digital topic. We will have another detailed roundtable along with some of our key industry clients there. We will debate topics around decarbonization, which we again touched upon a little bit. We will have the roundtables on sustainability. We'll have roundtables about how Indian PSUs and players are able to grow in this market, right? As the world is supply chain is changing, and there is a new world order so coming into play, right? So a lot of topics that will be there, and I would again exhort and urge that you do join us. Hope this podcast gives you a little bit of insight into some of the topics. And thank you once again, Sushant, for your time. And look forward to having you here all on December 2nd and 3rd for ENRich 2020. Sushant?
Absolutely, Manas. ENRich remains my go-to platform when we have to think about pushing the envelope on ideation and innovation in energy and natural resources, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. I will request all our listeners to also tune in on 2nd and 3rd of December for ENRich 2020. And this year we have a fair degree of global participation as well. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.